It's that time of year again, and Fishing the DMV is proud to announce its next major tournament, the Merry Bassmas Bash on Tourney X. Registration is open now and it closes December 15th. I am guaranteeing $400 for the first place angler, $200 for the second place angler, $100 for the third place angler. And to get in the Christmas spirit of things, I am giving away $100 for the biggest smallmouth caught in Pennsylvania, the biggest smallmouth caught in Virginia, the biggest smallmouth caught in Maryland, and I'm giving away $100 for the biggest largemouth caught and the second biggest largemouth caught as well. And if we get over 40 people to sign up, I'm going to increase the prizes for everything. Again, registration is now open and it closes December 15th. And you have to be a Patreon member to join this tournament. All Patreon supporters will receive 5% off their orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle, 10% off their orders to Tiger Crankbaits, 10% off their orders to Catoctin Creek Rods. They'll also gain access to our private Facebook group community, loads of members-only content, and of course, access to the Bassmas Bash on Tourney X. Ho, ho, ho. See you there. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens. Today, I am joined by Riley Ortega. Riley has had a crazy year, and we have bumped into each other a lot. Potomac River, I think we're fishing kind of the same water there at Pohick. And then the last event of the year, the one that we'll definitely be talking about a bunch today, which is Lake Anna at Sturgeon Creek. Riley, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This has been a long time coming, dude. I mean, you're a heck of a stick. And really to kind of just let everyone know that's listening to this thing, how did you get involved in fishing?
It was just upbringing. Like, I feel like everybody, starts fishing at some age, it's a pretty big thing. And I just started out fishing with my dad in Texas and catching little sunnies, just little stuff like that. And then I got my first kayak at 7 for my birthday.
Oh,
and
cool.
from there, it just stemmed.
How long did you guys live in Texas for?
I'm actually not too sure. Maybe a year or two.
Okay. So it wasn't too long before you guys made the jump over here towards Virginia.
No. Well, we went to Kentucky after Texas.
Oh, cool.
Which is the Kentucky-Tennessee border there.
Did you fish there too?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, a lot. That's where a lot of my fishing started too there. A lot of kayak fishing there.
What kind of kayak fishing is around there? Like the big lakes or?
Yeah, lakes and then rivers too. There's a lot of good stuff around there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because that's where I think Creek Fishing Adventure does a lot of his stuff. Like it seems like there's a lot of kayaky type of water in that area.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, so from there, you come to Virginia then. When did you get bit by the tournament bug?
Well, that was at Fort Campbell there in Tennessee. The KBFTN had like youth events and stuff like that, and I fished my first tournament there with KBFTN.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Got to meet Chad Hoover there too. That was cool.
How'd that event go?
I think I caught one fish. And that's when they had like the 8-inch rule, so it wasn't like close. It was like an 8, and I think I got a bunch of little prizes and stuff. I don't know how old it was, maybe 9 or 10.
At that point, were you 100% sold on like tournament fishing, or did it take a while for that kind of like bug to catch? I
think the bug took a little while longer to catch, especially because like when my dad started the club, I didn't even fish the first. I don't even think I fished the first or second year. I think the third year is when I first started, and that's when I started getting into it.
What switch flipped? What made you really want to actually pursue it a little bit more intensely?
Well, honestly, I just started getting better, and I thought I could actually start competing. And then, like, with these adults, and which is really surprising for me, and I just thought I could do it. And I was 12, 13, started catching fish, started competing.
When you say get better, what clicked in your head to where it's like, oh, I can catch them? Was it just time on the water?
Yeah, that's really what it was. I fished all the time. Me and Dad are out there all the time, always fishing. And then he was like, hey, you want to fish some tournaments? And yeah, into it. There it goes.
That kind of really gets into like this year with NVKBA. You go to the first event, and we'll do a quick little recap of the year leading up to Lake Anna. But you start the year at Lake Anna with that first event there. Did you fish in it, and how did you do?
Well, actually, I didn't get to fish in that one because it was. Remember how it got postponed a little bit into April? I think it was supposed to. I was gonna be able to fish it in March, and then when April came around, we had a camping trip, so I missed that one. That was the first one I missed of the year.
Interesting, because that's going to play into it where we finish at Lake Anna. So that brings us to the Potomac with Pohick. And again, I mean, top 10, like really, really good event there. Did you think like you had potentially the win, like while the tournament was going on? Like where were you mentally?
I thought I may have had it there towards the end. I think I was leading for a little while, but I think I always have that thing in my mind where I'm like, this isn't going to last. This isn't going to last. I always tell myself that because like I'll be up there, I'll be like, oh, somebody's going to catch big fish or catch 5 more giants or something like that. It's always like in the back of my head, like, I don't think this is going to last.
But I mean, dude, like that in that area too, because that bite shut off. I remember specifically that day. It was really good, and then it was a grind there. So for you to pull out what you did was, I thought, incredible. And then the next event we have is the Shenandoah on the Shenandoah River. With that event there with the deluge, like how do you feel about smallmouth fishing in general? Like,
I didn't fish that one either. Those were the 2 events that I missed.
So now we have, because you have Lake Anna, so you missed that one. Potomac, you crack a home run top 10. We missed a smallmouth event. Okay, now we're going to the Battle of 5 Lakes, number 1.
Yeah.
What was your thought there with how you're going to break that place down?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of went back to the basics, and I had this one spot at that lake that I knew I could catch fish, and then I got back there, and the water was not how it was the last time I was there, so I had to completely switch my game plan. I did find a little something early in the morning. I caught a limit pretty early, but it was all just really tiny, and then basically from the day on, I upgraded like maybe an inch or two, so I just caught a really small limit.
Which lake did you pick?
Germantown.
Is that the closest to where you live?
Yeah. Well, no. It might. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, because Occoquan Reservoir, like I know a lot of people went there, but that like you have to go all the way up 95. Like that's a nightmare to get to from the Fredericksburg area. Yeah, Germantown is a weird one to have on the docket. I have never been there before. Like, is it a pond? Like, how big is it?
It's not too big, but it's a lake size. It's a good size lake. It's not horrible.
So,
got size to it.
How did you feel then with your finish there?
Not very good. No, I thought I think I was top 10 for a little bit during the day, but then like as the day started going on, people started catching bigger fish, and I just stayed at the like under 70 inches with limit.
I mean, it sounds like from the literature I read on Germantown, you kind of did pretty good there. Like if you could have had that event back, would you still have picked that lake?
I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I think I would have, just because I had no practice on the lake at all. I just kind of winged it, went out there and just tried to find something.
Dude, that's impressive. Did you wing the Potomac River too? Did you practice for that one?
No, I didn't practice for that one either.
So you had like close to 2 top 10s, and you just roll out of bed and fish it. That's impressive. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I had some experience on the Potomac just because we used to live on Fort Belvoir, so we used to fish that all the time, and springtime especially is the best time to fish that place in my opinion. So I had experience later, like earlier on, but
yeah, and that place is like you pretty much know every spring where to go. Like it's not too secretive the places to be successful there. The next event was interesting. I believe, off memory serving me right, that was the smallmouth electric boogaloo number 2 on the Upper Potomac.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I mean. It would have been a good tournament, I think. I had 3 keepers, I think 2 15s and maybe like a 13. But I had a lot of fish missed, like a lot. Like I would get into the boat and they would just either come off or I'd lose them out a little further. Like I definitely 100% could have had a limit. Even in the last hour, I could have had a limit. It was just bad on my part. I think it was partly because of the stuff that I was using, just really small hooks and stuff for the smallmouth, and it was just popping them off. Yeah,
smallmouth are tough. Like that time of year, they jump so freaking much that they do. And half the battle is keeping them. I think I've lost 3 to 4 times more smallmouth on the board than largemouth, like bar none. And you don't get a lot for that event for some reason. You didn't get a lot of chances at a big one, and so losing them at boat side hurt massively.
It was bad.
Did you practice for that one?
No.
So, okay. So then we get to this is really in your backyardish area, which is Battle of 5 Lakes 2, Mooney, Hunting Run, those. Were you going to commit to Mooney like everybody and their brother were going to do, or were you going to try to be crazy and go off rail?
I was gonna be crazy. See, I had practiced on Mooney and I was feeling okay, but the thing is, I couldn't get a limit in a day there, and I was just struggling. I could catch size, but I couldn't get any numbers, and that was a tournament my grandpa came down for. So he didn't really feel comfortable with that lake either because we were practicing together. He didn't feel comfortable with that lake either. So we were like, let's just wing it. Let's go to Curtis. So we went to Curtis. I didn't pan out too good for me either. I think I caught. Oh no, it was it was Able Lake, and then that was. I think I caught 3.
Able's different though too. Like, did you practice for Able, or you just like wake up and decided to go there for? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that place is way different than. Again, like I fell into the trap too. I went to Nye. I wanted to go to Nye. Figured that was closed the day I wanted to go practice. Go figure. So I ended up going to Mooney, and again, it's just like that's a really tough nut to crack without forward-facing sonar. It's so deep and clear. There's great fish in there. I see all the pictures being posted right now, but those suckers are hard to catch.
For sure.
Do you have forward facing on your boat yet?
Oh,
okay. So yeah, because like that's the thing. Like when you're fishing that place, you really. I'm not saying you need to have it, but it definitely that place is where you could see the benefit of having it. And then I think from there was Rappahannock. Yeah. So the Rap was interesting, cool place. The Rappahannock. Yeah. Do you have a lot of experience on that place?
Not at all. No, I hardly fished that place. That was the title one, right?
Yeah.
No, I think I caught 1 fish that tournament.
Good Lord. Yeah, it was tough for me too. And again, like it's a cool place. I know the weights are there. We might have just hit it at a weird time of year.
Yeah.
But it got us through the season. And you know that you're going to be fishing the Classic on Lake Anna. And I think it was a month from that time. Were you thinking about practicing at all? Or like how were you preparing yourself for that event?
I really wasn't, to be honest with you. I didn't even think I was going to qualify just because I'd missed the 2 tournaments and just I didn't fish too good in all the other ones. I had that 1 top 10 and that was it. So I didn't really think I was going to have a chance. And then I I had a little bit of points with that last Rap tournament. So I was like, maybe I'll crack it, maybe I won't. And I ended up barely making the top 30. And then at that point, we didn't have time to practice really, and it was kind of an hour and a half drive. So
yeah, and that drive is brutal. But so then now this is the big event, which I really want to we're going to go through this by like every frame. I believe, because I saw you and your dad on the water. So you launched out of sturgeon. Why did you pick sturgeon? What was your thought process there? I mean, it ended up working out great for you, but did you have like a gut feeling or what?
I think I did have that gut feeling, but I've also had practice there in years before at sturgeon, and I've caught fish there. I think I got 6th place in one that was like in 2022. I think I had 6th place out of sturgeon. So that's the place I was most comfortable with. Other than that, Christopher Run maybe, but I just didn't feel comfortable going there.
When did it start to click?
Like fishing, like just started catching fish. I don't even know. It was. I mean, I had one like as soon as I got out the date, right out, started fishing a little dock and a little point. And I hooked one. He jumped right out, almost had him in the net. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm on to something. And then I just started going down banks and stuff, fishing docks and stuff. And I started catching some fish and like just not very big ones. But I did lose 2 major fish, like giant fish early, like really big. Like I'd see them jump out of the water, like probably 18 plus fish, like 18 plus inches, like 2 of them for big fish. And that could have had me the win. I didn't know that at the time because it was early, but that could have had me the win then.
What time did you feel like you had a limit?
Well, I had a limit. I don't know. Maybe it was probably around 11:30, 12.
Oh, okay. So you got it early then. You had a lot of time to like call if you wanted to. Okay. What did you feel like you just not like you got to your spots before everybody else? You had a secret bait from Japan. Like what gave you the ability to quickly get that limit?
Well, I had confidence in this one bait I've been practicing. It's just the finesse jigs. Like I've been using them all year. I just started getting comfortable with the finesse jigs. And I recently, because I used the Bitsy bugs, but I really did not like the hooks on the Bitsy bugs. So I found these Kitex, these really small finesse jig Kitex, and I put a little crawl jig trailer on there, and I just found a lot of confidence in that fishing Lake Anna with that.
Which is insane because like the jigs bite there can be really, really good. Jig and glide baits like are the 2 big fish magnets there. And the fact that nobody else seemed to piece that together, which was crazy. Because for people that don't know, I think there was a boat tournament that went out, and then there was our classic on Lake Anna. And in Sturgeon Creek specifically, there was a boat tournament. So there was a ton of traffic in that place. We were all just going around in circles. But there was still a ton of fish caught. I was impressed with how many fish came out of Sturgeon. Did you just fish the whole creek, or did you feel like you wanted to stay in a specific spot and just kind of guard your area?
Well, I did. I fished basically the entire creek. I went all the way out to the mouth and went up to the right there and fished a little bit over there. I think I actually did catch a fish out of the creek a little bit, but really just tried to focus on in the creek. Yeah.
When you had that big limit, did you know like how things were going to pan out?
Not really, no, because I think I caught my biggest fish of the day in the last hour, and I submitted and I had no clue where I was at. I think before I caught, because I caught a 17 at the end. Before I caught that 17, I think I had like 74 and change, and that was not gonna do it. I knew that wasn't gonna do it. I had a feeling it wasn't gonna do it all day. I was like, I gotta catch something bigger, and even with the 17, I was like, that's not gonna put me anywhere. I just didn't think it would do anything for me.
You always do this woulda, shoulda, coulda game. So, I mean, guys, like I have it here. So, Lee Richmond won with 80.5 inches. You had 79.25. Is there anything that you reflect on like you would have done differently? Because that's an inch. That is not a lot.
So, funny story. I actually had a fish on the fish gripper. It's probably like a 15 plus. It was a nice fish. And I put it in the water, and I was just getting my board out, get pictures, because I'm on the fish grippers. And I went to go pull the grippers out of the water, and the gripper snagged on the side of the kayak and the fish fell out right into the water.
Oh, my God.
It was horrible. It was really bad. But that could have been the winning fish. And it was right there.
Oh, my God. That's sickening. Good.
I didn't know it at the time, but...
Do you feel like as a year you fished pretty clean, or... Was that like your only mistake you think you made all year, or is there other things you can highlight? Like, I wish I could have had that back.
There's definitely a couple net jobs that I think I could have had back for sure that I've lost some fish on, especially with that Upper Potomac River tournament. That was a rough one for me. They kept jumping little, even if they were like 12 inches, I still couldn't get them in the net, hardly even to the boat half the time. But yeah, definitely that was a big one. That was a really bad mess up on my part.
The thing that Sean really taught me is like, and the thing that I am starting to change in my gear is going to like the 8, 9, 10 gear ratio reels for the smallmouth tournaments, just to be able to catch up to them. Because if you set the hook on them and they come down current, sometimes it feels like you just can't catch up to them.
Yeah, they're fast. They're really fast.
Yeah, especially like on the wrap. That current started to rip on the Rappahannock, and the bite just shut off, which was crazy. But
yeah, definitely.
Lake Anna was weird because I did feel like the bite was very sporadic, at least. Like it would like early in the morning, the bite was on, and then it was just kind of hit or miss the rest of the day.
Yeah, I feel that way for sure too. It was definitely like spaced out catches, in my opinion too. Like definitely like every 30 minutes, I'd get a bite, but definitely didn't start cracking down on them until like 11 or 12-ish.
I wonder why that is. I wonder why that time is.
I think because I was fishing docks, and then when the sun came up, I think they started pushing back underneath the docks and stuff, and that just helped me out a little bit.
Do you feel like you had your bigger bites deeper in sturgeon or out towards the mouth?
I think it was more towards the middle. I think there was one that was the one bigger fish that I lost was underneath the dock, and that one was closer to the mouth. But the one I was fishing a little bit of grass flat, and that one was like pretty early. Probably like 7:30 ish, and that one. It was rough. It's a big fish.
Yeah, but dude, that happens. I mean,
yeah.
But it's so crazy. Like you like the tale of two events, because you look at the Potomac and what you did there. I mean, do you have like a fish that you feel like if you had that one, you had a chance, or was it just you just stopped getting bites?
Well, the Potomac, I landed basically every single fish I caught. That was the most clean tournament I've fished all year. And the two big bites I had, thankfully got them to the boat. And that was that.
All right, pull this up here now. I got this. So you had, this is crazy. Yeah. Cause 87 and Josh had 90.25. Yeah. You had 87.50, 18.7, 18.75, 17, 16. 5. I mean, that's a hell of a bag. And again, if you guys don't know, like on the Potomac River, you don't get a lot of 22-inch largemouth. Like they're really stubby and thick. So it's hard to hit that 90-inch unless, it's all 18, 17 inches. Yeah. And again, like What was neat is like the areas you were fishing were very unique. They weren't like the main areas at Pohick and you were getting bites, but it seemed like you were dinking and dunking a lot with how much you were moving around.
I think I moved one big time the entire day. I went back to a creek, and I think I caught. That was where I finished my limit out. I think I had 4 fish, and you know where that island is right out there in front of where the dock is in that little cove. That's where I caught 95% of my fish. I caught 1 fish all the way in the back of a creek, and that was like a 15, I think, and that was what got me a limit. I think I had like 82 and some change running out of the creek, and that just wasn't having anything there. So I came back out to where I was having luck, and then just started catching fish again out there and especially in that cove there by the dock. That was a really, really good spot for me there.
That was gutsy then to make that run, even though I think you have the bigger torpedo. Is it torpedo you have or the?
Yeah.
Okay. To go all the way to that creek. How long of a run was that for you? 20 minutes?
Maybe it was like 20 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. It
Okay.
wasn't too, it was definitely a run.
Did you catch that 15-incher right away or did it take a while?
Well, I got out to the channel, pretty shallow out there. And once I got to the main channel, I started going up and talked to a kayaker there, and he was like, nothing's happening back here for me. And as soon as he turns a corner, I catch a fish. And so, yeah, I get that one on the board, and I go up a little further. I think I go a little further back into the creek there, and there was a guy fishing on the bank saying he wasn't having any luck. So I was like, maybe I'll just take my chance to go back to where I was having, consistent amount of bites. And I took that run all the way back out of the creek again to where I was catching fish in front of that island and in that cove.
That's really, I think, what makes or breaks it as an angler is having that gut instinct, because what happens if you stay there the rest of the day? What happens if you wait? How much more do you level up or not? I don't know. That's interesting to me. Like, it's those little decisions that matter so much when you tied on the jig at Lake Anna. If you don't do that and throw a shaky head, or if you don't make the moves that you did. And I think that's really going to be paying dividends for next year. Are you planning on fishing all of NVKBA next year? Like, what are your plans with that?
I plan on fishing every single one. Of course, can't always be 100% sure I can fish every single one, but I'd love to be able to fish every single one for sure.
You also had another tournament on Bugs Island. Is that your first time going down there?
Yeah, for sure. First time. I've always heard stories about that lake, watched Bassmasters on the lake. It's always a super cool lake. I've always wanted to go fish it. I thought it was really sweet, but yeah, that was a grind too.
It's tough there, isn't it?
Yeah, very tough.
Did you get to practice at all, or did you just roll out of bed and fish the tournament?
Yeah, definitely. I think we left. It was Friday we left, and I had to get picked up early from school to make the drive down there. So we got down there and looking for hotels and stuff. Couldn't find hotels, and then we ended up sleeping in the truck at the boat ramp. So I didn't have any practice time at all. It was pretty far drive.
Where did you guys launch from? Not Bugs. I cannot believe I'm blanking on the creek name. Wow. Did you launch in North Carolina or Virginia?
North Carolina, I'm pretty sure.
North Carolina. I think I know where I know where you launched from. How did you, when you're fishing a reservoir that massive, like, how do you pick a spot to start? Or do you just close your eyes and just drive somewhere?
We looked at creeks, a lot of creeks. We saw where creeks were coming in, and that was just a big thing. We found some small creek areas. And even when I went back to those creeks at that place, they were way too shallow to fish. So I had to completely revise my game plan. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens like that. And yeah.
What'd you do? How'd you revise it?
Well, that was actually after I'd already caught the only fish I caught all day. So I went back to what I had caught that fish and where I was catching that fish. And I didn't have any other bites the rest of the day, but like, it was tough. It was really tough.
So we kind of glossed over that. So you caught, was that not luck's the thing? It's like, how did you catch that fish? Because this was like a power hour tournament where you could have the biggest fish for an hour.
Yeah. So, what I was doing, I was looking at docks and then seeing if there was any drop-offs after the docks. And I found a nice little spot, and there was like a buoy right there too. And I saw a little group of fish as I was going over it. So I cast it back behind me with that jig. And I just letting it sit there for a second. I think I was checking my phone or something. I was just sitting there jigging it. And it just stopped. And I was like, oh, this is something finally. And I set the hook, and it was a lot bigger than I expected it to be. I almost thought it was a striper because of how light colored it was, but it was really light colored. And I finally got it like up all the way to the net. It was sweet. It was really nice. It was a pretty big one. It was 19.
Good Lord, dude. So were you jigging it off the bottom, or was it actually on the bottom of your jig?
It was on the bottom for sure.
Okay.
I think I was dragging it a little bit.
What about that jig bite? Was it like, I guess, like, was it hard to learn that? Like for me in high school, when I was fishing high school tournaments, it took me a while to get comfortable with the feel of a jig bite. Did you have a learning curve with it?
Yeah, 100%. I was never comfortable with jigs, and I think something that really helped me was the football head rugby jigs. Those were something I always had good luck with. Those, even throwing like a little worm on them or a bandito bug or some kind of like creature bait, and I'd catch fish doing that all the time. So I was like, I can't throw these big jigs. I don't get bites on these big jigs. So I found out downsizing really helps a lot. So these smaller jigs, I just found a lot of luck in like just catching fish on them.
What's your setup?
Well, I'm not sure the exact name of the Dobbins, but it's a Dobbins jig rod, and then I have a Curado on it for my reel.
You go with 25-pound fluorocarbon, 22, 15. Where you at with that?
Well, I run braid and then like a 14-pound leader.
Interesting. What knot do you use?
Well, I mean, it depends. I use a combination knot. Sometimes I use a polymer, and sometimes I'll run a fisherman's knot. Either one will work for me.
And then what do you use for your leader connection?
I don't really know the name of it. I just have a leader knot that I always know I tie just by muscle memory.
Are you afraid at all about just really slacklining them and that thing breaking?
Sometimes, but I haven't had any problems with my leader with jig bites at all.
Huh. I gotta try that because the sensitivity's got to be really good with it.
It is. It really is. And then you have that backbone with the braid. It's really good to fight those jig fish.
When did you start doing that? It's very like.
That's been like a thing I've always done. I just always have braid in the leader. It's just how I run stuff because braid is just unbeatable for a lot of things.
That's true. Is that something you run with all your setups, or is that specifically for the jig?
Yeah, most setups. Yeah, pretty much all my setups except for my swimming rod. I'll run mono or fluoro on that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about mono for that with the stretch. And I'm trying to think of like, besides that, maybe my popper rod is probably all I use mono for. Cause I don't use mono a lot. No, I'll use it sometimes for my drop shot when I'm in a lot of abrasive rock for smallmouth. That's when I'll do that. And I think that stretch does sometimes help. So you don't get that jolt near the end of the leader, unless it's like really heavier line. If you mean 15, like you were saying 14, but yeah, when you're getting down to like 8, 4, I get really, really nervous of setting the hook too hard if I don't have my drag set.
Yeah.
What's a bait that you want to get better with besides the jig?
Honestly, spinner baits. I don't throw spinner baits at all, and also crankbaits too. I don't have too much confidence in either of those baits.
Really, not with crankbaits?
Not at all, really. I mean, in that Potomac tournament, I caught my first 2 fish on a crankbait actually. But that was like, because I just had a feeling, like I just thought like maybe if I throw this crankbait that I've thrown here before and I've caught fish on, maybe I catch some fish. But I did catch my 2 first fish on that tournament on a crankbait. But that was like the only crankbait I threw all tournament season.
So crankbait's a big genre. So do you mean all type of crankbaits you want to get confidence in, or like
maybe more deep divers I want to get confidence in? I feel like I can catch fish on a lipless here and there, and maybe a square bill too. But I think deep divers, especially like after that 10, 15 foot mark, I really don't have much confidence in those.
It's just hard to find a place that you can do that around here, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it at Mooney. Allegedly, some people do it at Nye. Lake Anna's hit or miss. It's got to be like early in the year for there. Yeah. Spinnerbaits, though, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, when you have to pick between a spinnerbait and a chatterbait, it to me, it's really hard because I know there's a specific niche when a spinnerbait does work. Lake Anna, example, that in the spring, people love throwing a spinnerbait. I just got to get my confidence back with it. I feel like the chatterbait and the swim jig have just taken over.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I always go to. I always just go to a chatterbait. That's why I feel comfortable throwing a chatterbait. In that Anna tournament, I did catch one of my keepers on a chatterbait. And that was, I threw it for like a little bit. I caught one up in the grass, and that was honestly the most fluke fish of the day for me because everything else was on somewhat of a pattern.
Where was the grass in the back of sturgeon, or was it up at the mouth?
That was all the way up at the mouth, and that was like midday too, sunny out. I was really surprised that I caught that fish.
Dude, the chatterbait, that's something I want to take more and more time with. I fished it last year for the smallmouth events and really had success. It opened my eyes to it. I mean, Sean, of course, has won like all the events this year on throwing that stupid chatterbait, but it's just so weird because you're not bumping anything necessarily. It feels like you're just pulling it through the water, and I feel like it's sometimes hard to feel things with it. Personal opinion, but I got to get better with it for sure. What's your setup for that?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. I have my rod for chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, and crankbaits. I don't remember the action for it, to be honest with you.
Dude, that's how you want to be.
I just have all these rods I throw together and just throw baits on them.
Well, sometimes you don't want to keep it too complicated. Sometimes you want it to be simple.
Yeah. I think people do think into it a little bit too much, in my opinion. Because I mean, I do believe in the rod action for sure, 100%. That's a big thing. But sometimes you can throw a freaking chatterbait and spinnerbait on a heavy rod and still be able to hook fish.
How would you describe the way you break down water? Because you've had so much success with just rolling out of bed, and that really gets down to instinct. So how do you figure out what you want to do when you get there?
Well, I'm really, really big in finesse fishing. I always start my day out with finesse, some kind of finesse. And that's just always how I break down water. And if they're not biting that, then, I got to try something else. But I always start with a finesse. I always use a finesse bait. And it seems to always work year round for me.
That's a good point. And I think more and more with tournaments nowadays, with the pressure, it's just safer to just bet on go finesse first. Because if they're not biting that, it's two options. It's going to be a miserable day, or you can get them on the power stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that's the stuff I need more confidence in too, the power stuff, because I just have so much confidence in throwing some kind of jig bait out there and just sticking one on it. Like, that's just what I've always been good at and always caught fish on.
Yeah, and that's just, you got to find the right places to be able to practice that, which is hard.
100%.
Where would you like to fish if you had your dream?
Just in general, anywhere in the country?
Yep.
So I took a trip up to New York this year and fished the St. Lawrence River, and that was an awesome trip. That was a great trip. I would love to fish more of New York and those lakes and like Ontario and those big smallmouth fisheries. The St. Lawrence was awesome, super clear water, super deep, and like big smallmouth.
Was it a kayak event, like a kayak thing you went up for, or just a boat, or what?
So my friend took me on vacation up there, and they have like a tubing boat, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you guys can bring rods out if you want." And we stopped and did some fishing. And I think I caught my PB smallmouth up there, just throwing a little, those little like tiny little crankbaits that are from Strike King, like the really really small ones you can get at Walmart.
Yeah,
I was just throwing that around on like 6-pound test. And I just got stopped by something like massive. And I was like, "Oh, it's got to be like a little pike or something." And it was like I think it was 3.5-pound smallmouth, but it was only 18 inches, 17 inches, and it was just wide. Like, they're just built different up there, like just big fish.
That's insane. Like, and that water is crazy up there. Like how big and fast the current is up there.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's why. I don't think they've had a lot of kayak tournaments up there. I've always wondered if that's why, is because it just, the current rips so much, like it would be a problem.
Bassmaster's always there though.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I like watching them fish that place. It's pretty cool.
Oh, dude, you could easily catch, I think a limit of 6-pounders, 5-pounders there, like easily. Like what you caught, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, that's a baby."
Yeah, I know. That's how I was like, everybody's like, "Oh, that's not even that big for up there," and I was like, "That's huge for like where I'm from." Like,
oh yeah,
I don't ever catch fish like that, especially like big and wide ones like that. So you catch some long ones in the rivers and stuff, but like big, wide, football-sized smallmouth like that, hard to come across down here.
They are. What about your largemouth? What's your biggest largemouth?
6'13", 22 inches.
Tournament or just fun fishing?
That was just fun fishing. That was a while ago. That was like 2019, I believe. That's even before I started fishing tournaments.
Oh wow!
I did catch a 22 this year, but it didn't beat my weight PB.
Was it now the big one you caught, was it in Virginia or is it Tennessee?
It was Virginia.
Virginia? Oh wow. That's actually,
it was like when we first moved around here.
Ooh, that's hard to beat then.
Yeah.
You probably could catch it out of Mooney. That's probably where you're gonna actually break it, honestly.
Yeah. And we fished there a lot.
Now is your next tournament then, or your next time fishing, going to be the opener then next year, or?
I might just do some fun fishing, but hunting season's going to take over here in a little bit. So they got opening day this weekend. So.
Oh, yeah, dude, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it'll be sweet.
How long have you been hunting for?
Since I was 12.
Dude, are you guys? I guess your rifle season. That's what's coming in then.
Yeah. It's the 16th.
Your property or somebody else's?
We hunt with our neighbor.
Oh, that's really cool. What's your biggest buck?
I spike. I've only ever shot 2 deer.
you sound like a West Virginian, man. It's got nubs. It's going on the ground.
Yeah, if it's brown, it's down. If it moves, it's getting shot.
Oh my God. So, like, what are your future plans then with fishing? Like, I know, like, there's so many opportunities now with kayak and boat tournaments. Is this something you're thinking of pursuing more as you get older, like, or just keep it as a hobby?
I've definitely thought about it. I've definitely like explored my options when it comes to that. I definitely was looking into like scholarships for that kind of stuff because it's really, really interesting. I think it'd be great. But I really do just love it as a hobby, and these small little tournaments and stuff like that just really fun for me.
And that's where you got to stay grounded, because you can get so much into that rabbit hole, and it's getting expensive. It really is. But Riley, I really appreciate you coming on today to talk about this. Is there anything that I can promote for you or your dad for NVKBA?
Shout out NVKBA. That's about it.
Okay. And then, guys, as always, link in the episode description to everything we talked about today. If you'd like to, just reach out to me if you have any questions. And please go check us out on Patreon. We have a tournament here starting, and it's going from Thanksgiving all the way until the 28th of December. Like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.